This show is brought to you by listeners like you. Support this show at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show.
Hungry as fuck, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail dollar set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. Beating for the taste of the fly.
Hey guys, it's the Indy Mayhem Show. Mike Sorgat, Sorgatron on the Twitter, and we're talking independent pro wrestling as we do on this show. Great line of interviews. Check out everything at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or the video versions on our Facebook page or YouTube for Wrestling Mayhem Show. And please drop us a line, good times at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. If you have any other thoughts about indie wrestling, questions for any announced guests coming up, look for those on the Facebook events page. Or have anything else anybody we should talk to or anything of those sorts. And also please support Wrestling Mayhem Show and all the shows over at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show. Today I have a guest that was recommended to me by our good friend on the show, Bobby F. J-Town, has been telling me about her for several weeks now, is a big fan of hers. So we had to get her on the show due to a chance Twitter encounter. Seems to be how we're booking a lot these days. Kennadi Brink is joining me from Florida. How you doing today, Kennadi?
I am tremendous. I have my plain shot of espresso here from Dunkin' Donuts. I'm driving on 192 in Kissimmee, Florida. It's beautiful here, a nice 73 degrees. I must say it is cloudy. I can't lie and say it's sunny. But it's better than, I think, well, you're in Pittsburgh, are you not?
Yes, I am, but we're enjoying some 40 and 50 degree days as of late, thankfully. So it's been very thawed, thankfully. But yeah, this is interesting because you're like you even when it says, "Yeah, I'll be in a car," because that's kind of how I do interviews. I I thought that was an interesting.
It kind of happened by like chance one time, and then I was like, this is actually not too bad because I'm always around this time heading towards Team 3D Academy. And it's about a 20-30 minute drive, so it ends up being working out nicely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to get into that here in a little bit, but of course, we like to start the interview with a little bit of a kind of a break the ice question. Obviously, you're into this. You got to be a fan of it. What is your earliest memory of professional wrestling, or maybe the thing that hooked you into pro wrestling?
Honestly, for me, I didn't have any friends or family that was into it. I didn't have any connection that someone brought me and was like, "Hey, this is cool. Let's watch this." No, I was literally flipping through the channels, probably 4th or 5th grade, and I don't remember who was on the television or what was on the television, but it got me and drew me in. And at the time, 7-Eleven was doing a campaign with the Slurpees and all that stuff. And, of course, I was at 7-Eleven getting Slurpees, so I saw the times and whatever else to get me watching on a regular basis. And I was in. My first favorite was The Rock. And then for a few months, I had a transitionary period where I loved Goldberg. And then Undertaker ever since then. So, yeah. My first feud, the thing that I really enjoyed was I remember Jericho and Triple H really, that being the main event of one of the first house shows I went to in Baltimore.
That's amazing. And of course, so what brings you from 7-Eleven cups and Undertaker feuds to saying I want to get into the ring?
Well, for me, I always knew I wanted to do something in some shape or form with wrestling for my career. And initially, it was going to be, I'm going to be a writer. And I went on the WWE website, WWF website, whatever, and I was like, all right, what degree do I need? So that was the plan. I was like, absolutely, because growing up, I was 240 plus pounds. I wasn't an athlete. I lived vicariously through my television screen and my computer. I got home from school and sat down by my computer and just did nothing. So, but it was all for wrestling, And then I was like, what's truly stopping me from living out my dream and my vision of getting in the ring? And that was around senior year of high school. And I dropped 60, 70 pounds to do it and become an athlete. So it's been a long journey to do this, and in more ways than one for me, because I've had a lot of self-conscious issues and self-image issues that I still battle on a daily basis. But that makes me stronger, I think, than the average person trying to chase this.
That's amazing. I know as someone I'm not somebody who has gotten the physical prowess. I was always the clumsy one in the high school sports myself. Like for somebody that's looking to kind of make that turnaround, what like it's hard to find that motivation, or was it just the wrestling provided that motivation for you to just push through that initial getting used to working out and getting into that vibe?
Definitely. It was the one thing in the back of my head that was like, push harder. Because at the time, I'm young. I'm 17, 16, 17, 18. And I couldn't go 5 minutes on an elliptical for the lowest resistance, So it was kind of like a thing where it was like, wow, I'm still so young. I still have so much opportunity. Go for it. Keep pushing. And wrestling was always the thing in the back of my head that was gave me that, but also the outlet to do it too, because the first person that really helped me to lose the majority of my weight was at the time he was an independent professional wrestler, and he was signed to the WWE a few times afterwards, and he also went to Team 3D Academy, so I could say that he was definitely and still is a guardian angel of mine, and his name is Pat Brink, and so that's where the last name Brink came from.
Awesome. You mentioned Team 3D Academy, and one of the questions that came in is asking about working there, of course, under the famous Dudley Boys. How did you get hooked up with the academy, and what's it like training there? Obviously, you're still doing time there.
Sure. I've been here since February of 2015, and it was without a doubt the best decision I could have made for my career. I started wrestling in 2009. And I started my career up there in Maryland with MCW and Maryland Championship Wrestling. Great group of people. But Pat Brink was the guy that went to Team 3D and always put it in my head, even before I started training. It was like, you should go to Team 3D. It's where you need to be. So it was always something in the back of my head. But being a young kid, I still had to finish college, things like that. And I really didn't. It was something I wanted to do, something I said I wanted to do, but never thought I'd actually do it type of thing. So in 2015, I won an NWA $2,500 scholarship from Les Thatcher, Nigel McGuinness, Lance Storm, Dr. Tom Pritchard, Gerald Briscoe. They all picked me out of 45 people in this camp that we did to win $2,500 toward my wrestling career. And so the excuses weren't there anymore because I just finished college. And it was, well, what's holding you back now from going and doing it? And it was more of a mental thing. So I used that money and I took up and I moved to Florida here. And it's, like I said, the best thing that I could have done. We have not only do we have Bubba and Devon, two guys that have been everywhere and done everything and are so smart to the industry. And people say you want to train under people that have done what you want to do, and they obviously have done so much. So it's great to be under them and their wisdom. We also have a man named Dan Carr here, who is a muscular endurance coach who originated the American Gladiators, who really pushes a lot of good values in your head, including that you don't just want to be strong, you want to be strongest the longest. And that's a great mentality to have here as athletes, not just as wrestlers, but athletes, bar none. So Team 3D Academy there's lots of great schools out there, but I can't press how great Team 3D Academy is here in Kissimmee, Florida. Thumbs up.
There you go. Yeah, the Strength Coast is something I usually don't hear about in when talking about looking for an indie wrestling school or a pro wrestling school or anything like that. That seems like that'd be a huge thing for people that, especially. I mean, it's so unlike any other sport. I mean, how many times we see football players and other amateur wrestlers and everything just fizzle out from the physicality of it, right?
Absolutely, and the way that Dan always says, with football, guys will run a play for 30 seconds and then have like a 3 or 4 minute break. But that's completely opposite for us. We'll go 3 or 4 minutes and not even have a break sometimes. So as far as in a match, so that's how you want to train, is to have that endurance and the conditioning and keep strong throughout the entire drill or the entire match.
Absolutely. I got some other questions that were submitted here. Again, Bobby, we already found out how she got her name. But Bobby F. J-Town, who again hooked us up with this interview, thank you so much for that. And like I said, I think he's your number one fan up here in the Pittsburgh area from the sounds of it.
Oh, thank you.
So.
Also, the first name comes from, I was always a huge Mr. Kennedy fan. And so it just felt I'm not lying. So yeah, it was Undertaker, and right under him was Mr. Kennedy. I still have promos to this day memorized from Mr. Kennedy. I don't know if that's bad or good at this point. But I'm dying. I am dying for someone to book an intergender tag match with him involved and myself. I'm dying for this to happen. So can someone please just make my dream come true, guys? Come on.
We're gonna make sure to connect this with our indie promoters that we know, and then see if we can make that happen. Have you had a chance to encounter Mr. Kennedy out there in Florida on the Indies anywhere?
Not since I was a huge fan, and I'm embarrassed to say the times that I did. But yeah, it would be cool to meet him again on a different perspective or a different side of the guardrail for sure.
Awesome. Bobby's also asking, what was your favorite match or person to wrestle in your career so far?
I've had a few because it's really hard to narrow down favorites, but more recently I've had a lot of opportunity to work with Rachel Ellering, who's coming up, and she's really we are very similar in our perspectives and our mindsets with how much we love this industry, and she's just really picked up on it super quick. From she has a name in the industry, but at the same time, she's only been physically doing this for about a year and a half, so that's incredible for her. And I recently been working with Mia Yin / Jade. I got to work with her recently this past few months, and which is crazy that it took this long because we both started in the Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware area. And years ago when I was starting, and she was up there, and then she moved to Florida, and then I moved to Florida, and it took 6 or 7 years to finally get in the ring. So definitely Kelly Klein from Ring of Honor. So always a pleasure, and we have a similar mindset and build, so that always helps. And as far as a favorite match scenario, it was part of the weekend that I won the scholarship. I was able to wrestle Awesome Kong Karma, and that was a thing where it was like a surprise. It was complete. They called me up like an hour before the actual match happened, and I ran and did it. So it wasn't something that I could get in my own head about. It was like a come on. I'm like, okay, sure.
You can't really pass that up, but definitely intimidating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But she completely a sweetheart and completely open to ideas.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't like, well, we're doing this. It was more like, well, what do you want to do? And then it was like, oh, well, that's a great idea. Absolutely, we'll do that. I like that transition. So it was really cool to work with her, and I haven't seen her since, at all. Period. So. I would love to see her, as I've definitely transformed in the past few years.
All right, our friend Trey out there, Traeger. I know he's big following the ladies wrestling scene, traveling out to Chicago for the Rise and Shimmer event, I believe. He wants me to ask about the match that turned into a street fight with Saraya Knight in Rise.
Yep, Saraya. People, I don't know. I believe it's Saraya.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would hit me in the face if I said it incorrectly, so it's a 50-50 shot. But I can tell you, first of all, in the beginning of that day, we did the seminar, and to learn from her and Colt Cabana was great, part of the Rise seminar. And I went out there, I have a great trainers here, but learning from different people and different perspectives is great because wrestling is different flavors of ice cream, right? Different ways to do things. So to learn from both of them was great, and then to have the opportunity to actually work with her was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had in my life. It was like I always equate going and wrestling a match to a dream. It always feels like you go to sleep and then you wake up and you're like, did that actually really just happen? I'm not too sure, but that definitely I can say that it felt like a complete dream looking back on it.
That's awesome. He has another question that I believe he says is Shine related. It says to ask you about what C4 is going to do now that they are down to one person.
Completely dominate still. We don't need 4 people. And come next week, I'm going to be in a triple threat tag team match for those Shine Championships, tag team championships with Miss Amber O'Neil. So I don't see how that would be a bad start to start 2017. So.
Can you just for a little background for those that may be not familiar with what is C4?
C4 is a group We originally had Amazon Andrea part of it. She was eliminated from Shine last show. But we also have Lufisto, Amber O'Neill, and myself. And we all have had a gripe with Shine Wrestling, considering because we just felt like we weren't utilized to our best. Each one of us for different reasons, but we found a common ground with that. I found myself doing everything right as far as showing up, as far as paying my dues, as far as being just thrown in matches of fatal four-way matches, show after show, and dominating all of them, but still not really getting any recognition. So we found ourselves together on the same platform and created C4, the explosive time bomb, ticking. And we, like I said, we had a match last Shine, in which one of our members had to leave Shine. That was one of the stipulations, and unfortunately, one of our backbone, our muscle, Andrea, was eliminated from Shine. But that doesn't mean that we are C3. We're still C4, and we are still going to take over and keep dominating Shine because that's what we do.
That's awesome. I know the Rise event in Chicago, I believe you were a part of, was a pretty big deal for women's wrestling, getting a lot of people together. What was it like being part of an event like that?
It was really cool, as far as, so much energy being pushed to that by Kevin Harvey and all the people involved with Shimmer too. But Kevin Harvey really took that, and that was his baby, and the man never sleeps. He's now promoting Rise 2, which is going to be in California. And he's just very perceptive and very understanding and very critical at the same time, because, you're sending him promos and he's always saying how they can be better and trying to promote not only Rise, but the idea is for everyone to be promoted, everyone to get a bigger name, everyone to get more experience. So that's what it's all about. It's just making women's wrestling better. And it's so great to have so much positive energy toward women's wrestling in general.
That's awesome. All right, we like to end off the interview with a couple standard questions here. First of all, what are you watching these days? What's kind of got your attention in pro wrestling?
A lot of NXT stuff, and I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan, so I go back and I watch a lot of Kevin Owens stuff from Ring of Honor and whatever else. So lots of Kevin Owens stuff, NXT stuff, any type of women's match I can get, as far as a Sarah Del Rey or a Natalya or a Beth Phoenix. I go back and watch as much as I can. So a little bit of everything, to be honest, but I think everyone probably says that.
That's good. Either that or I can't watch anything. It's too much wrestling, etc. So,
well, if it's too, well, and that's just my opinion, but if it's too much, then maybe this is not. Never mind. No,
I think it depends on what. I think it depends on what point I catch people in their career. So
that's true. It's very, very true. Absolutely, I completely 100% agree. Yep.
Yeah. So, and so also you've been at this for a little bit here. What's the best and the worst thing? You can take us any way you want about indie wrestling.
The best thing, I mean, from what I think, my understanding is there's so much creative liberty compared to maybe other places that you can go to what you want to do, which is also the scary thing, right? Because as far as a character, you are your merchandise, you are your business. So it's either a success or a fall flat on your face type thing. But at the same time, you can put so much energy into it, and it'd be great, or it could fail. So, and the energy of the fans is so great. I can give you an example. I'll put him out there. A gentleman named Papa Hales. Everyone really enjoys his energy and his enthusiasm, but he's just one example of how fans push their energy on us and just make indie wrestling and wrestling period so much better. So just being a part of that, and unfortunately, anywhere for independent wrestling, or I think life in general is, there's snakes, there's negative people, there's bad apples in the bunch. But if you just keep on the positivity of things, that's how you have to look at things in general, or else you just drive yourself insane.
That's awesome. Where can people find you online?
Sure, Twitter at the Twitter machine, the Twitter at Lady K Brink, LadyKBrink. That also is on Instagram. Facebook is Kennedy Brink, KENNADIBRINK, and you can email me. I have t-shirts available. I have 8x10s available. You can all work that out through PayPal, and that's Kennedy, KENNADI Brink, BRINK at gmail.com.
You ever cut a Mr. Kennedy style promo in the ring?
At WrestleMania 25 in Houston, Texas, when I did the fan accent.
Awesome.
Before I was training, mind you, I did an impersonation contest. I lost to a Hulk Hogan, but I was interviewed by a British. I know. I think I should have won, though. A lot of people came up to me and said I should have won, and I was interviewed by a British television people, so that was kind of cool, and I did it again.
Obviously,
so, I will not do it.
Obviously, the Hulk Hogan had creative control, so.
Exactly, completely agree. The guy even pretended to drop the microphone for me. That was kind of cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Go check her out. Find whenever she's coming to your town, and don't miss it. And of course, she's involved with the Rise and all kinds of events. Look her up. Where fine independent professional wrestling is sold, or YouTube. And also, you did do an appearance on again with the Ellering on Women of Honor Wrestling for Ring of Honor. So go check that out. Yeah. As well. One of the first things that pops up on YouTube. Definitely recommend it. So thank you so much for joining me. And guys, let us know, who do you want us to talk to? We're taking a lot of suggestions, and they're getting on the show lately. Hit us up at Mayhem Show on the Twitter. Like I said, good times at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. And please support our efforts here at Patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show. We really appreciate everything you're doing to support this show and supporting indie wrestling. So until next time, please continue to support indie wrestling.
Sick, you know how I act now. If you got a problem, come and see if I'm a back down. Act wild, steady sipping check now.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.